of my house, Adaeze. I have been something else. Where will I go? Get out of my house, Adaeze.
Mama, please.
Silence. I will change. My decision is final. Where will I go?
What would you do if your own mother said you were a mistake because you are a girl child? If she loved your brother but wished you were never born, and one cold night she threw you out into the dark alone? This is the story of Adaeze. Long ago, in the peaceful village of Umuaka, there lived a widow named Mama Obi and her 2 children, her beloved son, Obina, and her quiet daughter, Adaeze. Obina was strong and charming. The villagers praised him endlessly. His mother adored him openly. But Adaeze was different. She was gentle, thoughtful, always drawing symbols in the sand with charcoal. She saw beauty where others did not. When Obina turned 10, the whole village of Umuaka woke up early. The air smelled like roasted yam and spicy soup. It was the New Yam Festival, the biggest day of the year. And this year, it was also Obina's birthday. Mama Obi shouted orders everywhere. Cook more rice, bring more firewood, where are the drummers? Then, boom, boom, boom. The drums shook the ground. Women tied bright wrappers around their waists. Men carried fresh palm wine in clay pots. 2 fat goats were brought into the compound. Everyone knew what that meant. Celebration. Mama Obi stood tall in the middle of the compound and said loudly, "My son is 10 today. He will be strong like the lion. He will lead this village one day." People clapped. "Obina," they cheered. He smiled like a small king. Elders placed their hands on his head and prayed. Weeks later, it was Adaeze's birthday. She woke up early. Maybe today would be different. She swept the compound carefully. She washed the plates. She even braided her hair nicely. She waited. Morning passed. No drums. Afternoon came. No visitors. Evening fell. Mama Obina was cooking. Just normal soup. No goat. No rice. No palm wine. Adaeze finally gathered courage. Her voice was soft. "Mama, today is my birthday." Mama Obina did not turn around. Yes, so. Adaeze waited. Maybe her mother was joking. Mama Obina stirred the pot and said, "Birthdays are not important for girls. Go and bring water." That was it. No prayer. No hug. No blessing. Not even a smile. Outside, she could hear children playing. Some of them had eaten at Obina's feast weeks before. Nobody came for her. The compound felt very big, very empty. That night, Adaeze sat alone under the moon. She drew a small circle in the sand. Then another. Then another. She whispered, "Maybe I am not special." A small tear fell on the sand drawing. That was the night something changed inside her. Not anger, but understanding. She understood she was alone. And sometimes, understanding hurts more than shouting. That was the day Adaeze became invisible. But invisible seeds still grow underground. One evening, Mama Obina came home and saw a large painting on the compound wall. It showed a big tree. Under the tree stood a small girl. Above the girl was a shining star. Mama Obina hardened. "What is this nonsense?" she shouted. Adaeze stood up slowly. "I saw it in my dream, Mama." Mama Obina's voice grew louder. "Dreams do not cook soup." She pointed at the wall. "Art will not marry you." Her voice shook the compound. "Art will not feed this family." The neighbors heard. Some nodded in agreement. "Girls must learn real work," one woman whispered. Mama Obi turned to her son, who had just come back from school. "My son, show me your report card." Obina handed it over. His grades were not very good. 2 subjects were almost failing. But Mama Obina smiled proudly. "You tried, that is enough." She hugged him. Then she looked at Adaeze. "And you, Stop wasting time with drawings. Adaeze slowly pulled out her own school paper. Her grades were much higher. Mama Obi barely looked at it. Go and wash the plates. That moment felt heavier than a slap. Adaeze lowered her head. That evening, the sky was not happy. Dark clouds covered the moon. The wind moved like it was carrying bad news. Inside the compound, Adaeze was painting again. But this time, it was different. This was her biggest painting ever. On the large mud wall, she painted their ancestors. Old faces, strong faces, faces with deep lines and wise eyes. She painted her late father in the center, standing tall, watching over them. Adaeze stepped back. Her heart was beating fast. For once, she felt proud. For once, she felt seen. Then, the door slammed open. Mama Obi froze. Her eyes slowly moved up the wall. Silence. Thick silence. Then her face twisted. "What is this?" she shouted. Her voice shook the compound. Adaeze swallowed. "I painted our ancestors, Mama, so we remember them." Mama Obina's breathing became heavy and she cried. "You put your father's face on a wall like a shrine?" Neighbors began peeking over the fence. Rain started dripping slowly from the sky. "You shamed this family with foolishness," Mama Obina screamed. "You want people to say I am raising a witch?" The word hit like a stone. Witch. Some villagers gasped. In those days, being different was dangerous. Painting spirits, dreaming strange dreams, talking about stars. People feared what they did not understand. Mama Obina grabbed Adaze's woven basket, the one holding her charcoal, her clay, her berries, her small treasures. She threw it into the mud outside. The calabash broke. Colors spilled into the rain. "Leave this house until you learn sense," she shouted. Thunder cracked across the sky. Obina stood in the corner, silent, watching, not speaking, not helping. Adaze's chest felt tight, very tight. "Mama," she whispered. But Mama Obina turned her back. That hurt more than the shouting. Rain began falling harder now. Neighbors stepped back into their homes. Nobody wanted trouble. Nobody wanted to defend this strange girl. Adaeze bent down slowly. She picked up one broken piece of clay pot, the piece with the painted star on it. She held it close to her chest. She looked at her mother and begged her again and again. Mama Obina did not look back. And just like that, at 14 years old, with no shoes, no food, no plan, Adaeze walked into the night. The rain washed her tears away, but it could not wash away the words. Witch, foolish, shame. The forest was cold. The rain had stopped, but the trees were still dripping. Adaze's feet were muddy. Her stomach hurt from hunger. Her heart hurt even more. She did not know where she was going. She just kept walking. Then, she saw something strange. A small orange light in the distance, flickering, moving. She froze. Slowly, carefully, she walked closer. A giant baobab tree. Its trunk was wide like a house. Its branches stretched like long arms touching the sky. Under the tree sat an old man, very old. His hair was white like cotton. His back was straight. His eyes were calm. He was drawing in the dust with his stick. Adaeze stopped. "How did you know I was coming?" she asked softly. The old man smiled. "I did not," he said, "but the wind did." That answer made no sense, yet it felt true. The old man looked at the broken clay piece in her hand. "The star," he said. Adaze's eyes widened. "How do you know about the star?" He did not answer. Instead, he pushed the stick toward her. "Draw," he said. Adaeze hesitated. "What should I draw?" "Draw what you see when you close your eyes." Slowly, she knelt down. She drew a bird, a large bird, flying away from a burning house. When she finished, The old man nodded. "Good," he whispered. "Very good." Then he said words that made her skin tingle. "Your hands carry chi. Your destiny is louder than your mother's fear." Adaeze felt tears rising. "No one believes in me," she said. The old man looked up at the sky. He reached into a small bag and brought out roasted yam and dried fish. He handed it to her. She ate quickly, too quickly. He watched her carefully. "Listen well," he said. "Tomorrow you will go to Onitsha." Adaeze shook her head. "I have no money." He smiled. "You have something greater." She did not understand. He leaned closer. "Draw the people. Let them see themselves through your eyes." He pointed toward the east. "The world is bigger than your mother's compound." The wind suddenly blew strong. The fire flickered wildly. Adaeze blinked, and for 1 second, the old man's shadow looked taller than the tree itself. When she blinked again, he was normal. Or was he?
Adaeze fell asleep under the tree. When she woke up, the old man was gone. No footprints, no fire, no bag, nothing. Only one thing remained. A small, smooth stone with a star carved into it. Her heart began beating fast. Was he real? She held the stone tightly. Then she began walking toward Onitsha. Onitsha was loud, very loud. People shouting, goats crying, metal clanging, traders arguing, cars honking. Adaeze felt small again, very small. She sat near a corner of the busy market. She took out charcoal and began to draw. At first, people stared. Some laughed. "Village girl, does she think she is important?" One boy even kicked dust near her drawing, but she did not stop. She remembered the old man's words. "Draw. Let them see." Then something happened. A big trader wearing gold rings stopped walking. He looked down at her drawing. He froze. His mouth slowly opened. It was his face. Not just his face. The tiny scar near his eyebrow. The curve of his beard. The tired look in his eyes. "How did you do this?" he asked. Adaeze swallowed. "I just looked," she said. The trader stared at her. Then he did something shocking. He pulled out money, real money, and placed it in her hand. "Draw my wife," he said. That one drawing changed everything. Soon, people gathered. "Draw me! Draw me next!" Even people who laughed before now pushed forward. Coins fell into her wrapper. Silver, bronze, more than she had ever seen. By evening, her hands were shaking from drawing, but she was smiling. For the first time in a long time, she was not invisible. The unexpected boost.
Days passed, then weeks. Her drawings improved. One afternoon, a chief from a nearby town saw her work. He invited her to draw his entire family. She did. The painting was so powerful, people said it looked alive. A merchant from Lagos heard about her. He came with big promises. "I will take your art to the city," he said. "You will be known." Adaeze hesitated, remembering her mother's words. "Art will not feed you." But the coins in her hand said otherwise. Then, something even bigger happened. A traveling storyteller came to the market. He carried a small recording device. He filmed her drawing. He shared her story across towns, across cities, across the country. And like Hamatan fire, it spread. People began talking about the girl who sees souls. Her art reached places she had never seen. Lagos, Jos, even beyond Nigeria. In the village they say, when the river finally finds the sea, it does not return to beg the stream. Adaeze was no longer just a village girl. She was becoming something bigger, much bigger. And far away in Umuaka, Mama Obina had no idea. The child she called foolish was about to change her world forever. Years passed. Not one, not two, many. The small girl who once painted in secret was no longer small. People now called her the daughter of colors, because when she painted, it felt like she was painting souls. She owned big art galleries in cities, bright buildings filled with her work. Rich people came, important people came, even foreigners came. They stood quietly in front of her paintings. Some cried, some stared for long minutes without speaking, because her art did something powerful. It made people see themselves. But Adaeze did not forget where she came from. She remembered the mud walls, the broken clay pot, the night rain. So she began training young girls. Girls who were told, "You are not important." Girls who were told, "Be quiet." She gave them brushes. She gave them paper. She gave them courage. In the village they say, when one candle is lit, it can light 1,000 more. Adaeze lit many candles. She built schools in rural villages, small at first, then bigger. Schools where children could learn art. Schools where girls were not silenced. People began saying, she is not just rich, she is honorable.
One afternoon, Adaeze received a big invitation. She was asked to speak on national television in Enugu. A live interview. The whole country would watch. She wore a beautiful wrapper. Simple, elegant, strong. The interviewer smiled. "Your story is inspiring," he said. "Tell us, who believed in you when no one else did?" For a moment, the room became quiet. Adaeze paused. Then she said softly, "A stranger under a baobab tree." The audience leaned in. She continued, "But sometimes rejection is also a teacher." Back in Umwaka village, the power was out that day. But one neighbor had a generator. The villagers gathered in his house. The small television flickered. And then, Mama Obina froze. She dropped the cup in her hand. It shattered on the floor. On the screen was her daughter. The same girl she had called foolish. The same girl she had sent into the rain. But now, she looked like royalty. Strong, calm, respected. When the interviewer asked about her childhood, Adaeze did not insult her mother. She did not expose her. She simply said, "Some seeds must leave the shade to find the sun." Mama Obina's legs became weak. She sat down slowly. Tears filled her eyes. Not small tears, heavy tears, the kind that carry regret. 1 week later, a long black car entered Umwaka village. Dust rose into the air. Children ran behind it, shouting, "Who is that?" The car stopped in front of Mama Obina's old compound. The door opened, and Adaeze stepped out. Not angry, not proud, but dignified. She looked around slowly. The same mud walls, the same cracked ground, but something felt different. The villagers gathered quickly. Whispers filled the air. "That is her, the daughter of colors." Mama Obina stepped forward. Her hands were shaking. Her hair now carried grey. She looked smaller than Adaeze remembered. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Mama Obina fell to her knees, right there in the dust. "I was wrong," she cried. "I let fear blind me." The entire village gasped. Mothers do not kneel easily, but guilt is heavy. Adaeze's heart pounded. All the pain, all the nights alone, all the words. They rushed back. She could have turned away. She could have walked back into her car. Instead, she bent down and lifted her mother up. She hugged her tightly. The villagers murmured. In the village, they say, "The tree that grows tall does not curse the seed that dropped it." Adaeze repeated those words aloud, and silence fell. Adaeze rebuilt the compound. She made sure her mother had comfort. She even helped Obina start a new business. The same Obina who once watched silently, because success had changed her heart, not hardened it. And that shocked the village the most. Not her money, not her fame, but her forgiveness. From that day on, the elders told her story to every child who felt unseen. They would gather children under the moonlight and say, "Listen carefully. Your gift may be misunderstood. Rejection is not the end of destiny. A child's chi cannot be destroyed by harsh words.
What is planted by God will bloom in its season. And remember this, even when people forget your worth, the Creator never does.
What would you do if you were Adaeze? Tell us in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing stories.